Final match of the day coming right up, and it is going to be BloodTrail versus Glory, and we have a Holy Wrath Paladin versus Rogue. So we're going to mix it up a little bit. We had a lot of Hunter in the middle of today, getting through all of those different matchups, but for now we are going to go straight into the deck list and check these out. I know you are a fan of Holy Wrath Paladin, Gia, so let's talk us through this one.
I am a fan of Freeze Mage Raven. I feel like it's just that type of deck archetype that really cultivates devoted fans. I mean, back when Freeze Mage was still a thing, you had these players that only played that deck, which, by the way, if it were a deck and specialist, you would have actual Freeze Mage specialists who would maybe never move off the deck. But this deck, I call it Freeze Mage because it's very similar in just wanting to cycle through the deck, get through their 1 or 2 turn lethal at the end of it, and stall the game using cards like Timeout, which is scarily similar to Ice Block, even, like, better, even.
Potentially, yeah. I do think as well that one thing I enjoy about decks like this, because I do agree with your assessment, is that I enjoy working out how much damage you can take a turn. Because if you just react to every single time there's minions on board, you probably lose a lot more often with this deck. You need to work out what a feasible amount of damage you can take based on what's going on in that game to make sure your timeouts are well timed. And also just your heals, your AoE removals, you need to just not just throw them away and use them at just the right moments to really get the most out of this deck. And I feel it was the same for Freeze Mage. I remember casting it ages ago, and a lot of the time we were discussing of, great, well, you froze the board, but you've not moved towards your win condition this turn, so you've not really changed anything. You've made the game last a turn longer, but not finished the game a turn quicker. So it's very strange. But I do like watching this deck, and I'm glad it's made a reappearance as well, and I believe it is only going to get stronger. Let's check out Glory's Rogue list, though, and tell me, Gia, what does Rogue have to do to beat the Paladin?
I think they have to smork Raven. And of course, I'm oversimplifying it, but the benefit that the Rogue has these days is that because of the nerfs, I think Shirvallah Paladins have been cutting the BloodTrail Corsairs, which used to be the choice of one-attack minions for the Christology draw. Instead, they're now more often running the Elven Archers or Soup Vendors or Acolytes of Pain. And now the Waggle picks can roam free, and that, I think, makes the matchup really tough for the Shirvallah Paladin.
We just need David Attenborough now with a really weird documentary-style voiceover of like the Waggle picks roaming free across the plains as the Corsairs have been dealt with. But I believe we had Tom this weekend who played one of the BloodTrails, right?
Yeah. And he did have a Rogue matchup, I think.
Yeah, he hit the matchup, so you know what? Fair enough. And a Warrior matchup. So even then, he managed to get the tech just about right. But yeah, I do agree. And one thing I think is a Rogue's strength in this matchup is that the damage can come from nowhere.
True.
Which means when I talked about the Paladin trying to be safe and working out when it was safe, it feels more difficult versus Rogue because, frankly, sometimes you just die and you can't really play around certain health totals. And if you start timing out against a small board but a potential high burst, and then it just doesn't happen anyway because you've timed out, you just die the turn after. So I think it's very, very difficult for the Paladin, but definitely manageable.
They need to be highly aware of the damage cutoffs from the Rogue. And yes, you can account for things like Leroy Shadow Step, but with the additional lackeys, which could be generating spells, sometimes the Paladin is unsure if that extra 4 health they have is actually a safe zone or not. And that can often be the difference between having the last turn they need to guarantee the 25 damage.
Yeah, and also as well, because Glory's list is running the double shark, we've seen just the amount of value, the amount of damage, the amount of Edwin you can get out when you have a shark on the board as well. And speaking of which, there's one in the opening hand, but it's just, I feel like this matchup is so difficult to keep track of because the Rogue does so much stuff it shouldn't be allowed to do.
I agree. I mean, the Rogue is just such an X-Factor class because even if you're not running the Burgle package, which can sometimes just completely mess up the Paladin combo in the cheesiest ways, and Glory happens to not be running that, sometimes the lackeys just generate too many unaccountable factors, which BloodTrail needs to be, I think, or he needs to have had a lot of practice against the Rogue to figure out what health totals he'll be safe at.
Yeah, or at least what's a reasonable amount. Because you can't play around every single card, right? That's just absurd. But the problem with Rogue specifically is it has 2 mana deal 4 as a spell that it can discover multiple copies of, which is when that one. Yep, nice one, game.
I thought you meant Cold Blood. But yeah, of course.
Touche. But yeah, these cards at low mana cost, high damage, means that the burst is even further than, say, even Hunter. Because Hunter sort of signals what it's going to do, right? Because it Dire Frenzies is set up, so on. But Rogue really doesn't. Just doesn't signal.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
Did I sound
thought,
like I was going to continue?
I mean, maybe I just didn't hear the word just. But anyway, BloodTrail already deciding between Hero Power and Thalnos. And Thalnos, while it does get the cycle going, I can respect the hold because he does have 2 turn 3 options, which is either coin True Silver or coin Prismatic Lens. And the Thalnos can have some value later on, saved with the Consecration as one of the few ways you can easily deal with a shark.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you about as well. And also just a lot of Rogue minions in general. Rogue is kind of known for just 3/3s a lot of the time. There's just a lot of around that health total minions, so the extra damage from the Thalnos could come in handy. But yeah, the Shark is pretty high priority, right? We've seen what happens when it gets left alive.
Yeah. And this is one of those awkward things that the Paladin has to do in this matchup, which is when they don't have the Pyro, they have to True Silver a 2-1, which feels awful, but it is a necessary evil because the 2-1 health stacks really, the damage stacks really quickly.
BloodTrail, a slight look up to the sky, and as he saw the Shark come down, he's like,
we meet again, Shark.
Yeah, and the problem is as well with the, I'll say recent, not so recent now, but with the equality nerf, the Shark's safe. It just never dies, right? Unless I'm missing something.
Yeah. Although I wonder if you would want to equality a board like this anyway. To me, it would seem like an overreaction, but to be fair, I've been punished by Shark many times.
I just mean at the moment, it's one of the decks that can't punish a Shark on curve,
yes.
Unlike Hunter and unlike Warrior.
Yes. So now, Glory,
Spells,
Lackeys,
Miscreants, Lackeys all over the show. Why not?
They're not great. The Vanish seems way too slow. You may just take the Fan of Knives for more cycle.
I was thinking of extreme
Escape.
versions of Vanish.
I like the Daring Escape because that's just the better version of Vanish in this case. So Vanish is never relevant for removing your opponent's board in this matchup.
Could be for Fern the Hand. Overdraw.
Oh yeah, you're right.
That's what I was going to talk about, but last time I talked about Overdraw, you shot me down, so...
Yeah. Okay, well, the Vanish has an ability to overdraw for maybe more... No, not more than one, right? Because you... Yeah, so... So now I dislike it again, because I was thinking, like, for some reason, more minions means more overdraw, but that's just not a thing. Anyway, Glory's got a lot of juice in hand, and Burst to compound it, or rather follow up on it with the Waggle Picks and 2 Abyss. That is just 16 damage.
Could just go for the Holy Wrath this turn with the Pyro, right? If he wants to clear out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like
it's
this.
Guaranteed, because...
He's not Holy Wrath in face for potential 25 damage. That was only 4, okay.
Only Frosty gets those.
But against Rogue, you often do not need double Holy Wrath. There's barely any classes in the game at the moment that you need to actually do that twice for high levels of damage. So Holy Wrath mainly used to just be flexible, and it's still just another card draw tool in the deck.
I mentioned it would be guaranteed to clear the Shark, but I was wrong because there's still an Elven Archer in the deck. So, but that's super unlikely that you get that. In this case, if I'm Glory, I might be tempted to just start smorking with the Waggle Picks.
Yep. There's 2 in hand. Just swing them. And with what? Just a... Yeah, okay. I was just triple checking just to make sure. But with no weapon removal, well, it's just 16 damage. He's only on 23. Could die soon.
He does play some Lackeys, though. You probably play the Rushy one to...
Ooh, says to strike.
Yeah,
Let's go.
That is sick. To charge into the... Oh, I guess he's not Waggle Picking this turn, then. Ooh, that can get spell damage, too, once it gets damaged. Is he picking into the Pyro?
Maybe.
Yeah.
He doesn't care. I kind of like this. It just doesn't matter, right? Because if BloodTrail trades into 2/3, well, it's just a minion from your lackey anyway, not the end of the world. If he plays spells, then unless it's exactly heal on the Pyro, then the Pyro dies regardless.
I'm just not sure if you'd rather just play the Faceless and rush the Faceless. You still end up with a 2/3, and then your opponent doesn't have a Pyro, and you have insurance against shenanigans like this.
I guess it's just that maybe getting the Sinister Strike changed his mind to what he wants to do. Because he did play the ethereal first, which I don't think is necessarily wrong.
Okay. It's a close one.
Yeah.
We are just nitpicking here because...
I mean, I'm just trying to work out, but I think if you go for ethereal and get a Sinister Strike, maybe that's enough for Glory to say, oh, I have double of this, Sinister Strike now as well, and 2 weapons that do 1 million damage.
So this does look like 1 million damage, you're right, and Glory now can guarantee the bounce on this deckhand for another 2 damage later on for free. What is unfortunate for him though is that BloodTrail is sitting on double Flash of Light, which is just the most efficient heal that the Paladin deck runs outside of a fully discounted Shirvala. I think one thing Glory has going for him is that he hasn't seen a Christology, so he's probably not expecting Kangor as much as otherwise.
This is, I think, do you dagger this turn instead? Try and bait BloodTrail?
Into...
Probably not.
Into what?
I was just thinking, it's just weird little plays.
And he's gonna Daring Escape this, right? Yeah, I like this a lot.
Nice. More damage.
I quite like investing the mana into the Waggle pick already.
Yeah, there was just a way where you... The problem was the health was too low, but I was considering whether you ever don't equip it to maybe make BloodTrail not heal or not heal as much. Yeah. To then, or maybe not time out, and then maybe you can get lethal, because I think he had 13 without the pick from hand for this turn if he equipped a dagger, but still it wouldn't matter because BloodTrail's almost certainly going to heal if possible.
Right. I think that, you know, investing the 4 mana is probably too relevant to pass up on.
Right.
And yeah, now BloodTrail. Oh, he's got Shirvala, he's got Bankers, but Glory, I doubt he'll play minions.
He doesn't need to. He can Fan of Knives pass. That's absolutely fine right now.
It is super tempting to drop a Miscreant, but I think he knows that, like, BloodTrail probably needs Shirvala, or at least, like, Kangor Flash of Light to get out of range. And, you know, Shirvala being a possibility could just disincentivize him. But if he's also been keeping very good track of BloodTrail's spell usage so far, he will know that Shirvala is too expensive to use alongside a Banker next turn. So maybe that does merit using a Miscreant. And if anyone wasn't aware, the players do have access to Deck Tracker, so Glory can just look at the spells played from BloodTrail and do the math.
I guess with that many cards in hand, it's too much of a leap to think there's 0 healing, right?
Yeah.
And although you can play around exactly Shirvala on curve, you can't really play around almost any other set of heals.
Isn't Shirvala on curve turn 25, right?
No, on curve means as the mana unlocks.
Yeah, I got it.
But yeah.
Yeah, I think it's good recognition from Glory that the tempo Shirvala is just not available yet, unless BloodTrail wants to give up his win condition of OTK and just purely play for control, which is a huge win for Glory. So he is going to take what I think is this last window to play minions. Oh, Kangor Flash.
I was just going to say another good win for Glory is the fact that Kangor did not come down first here.
Yeah.
But, okay, this is the next best thing. If BloodTrail wasn't going to have Kangor for the first Flash of Light, you may as well have it for the second instead.
This is still tons of damage from Glory, especially with prep. Okay, so 7 showing, 8 from the Viscerates, Deckhand Sinister Strike, another 5. 20. It's lethal, for sure. It's like over lethal.
That is just a lot of damage.
Crazy. I think it's something like 25. I didn't even count the mana, but he had prep.
Yeah, you know it's lethal when Glory locks it in this quickly.
Oh my gosh.
Look how fast he's locking it in. He's probably played like 3 other cards by the time we see one get played here.
Yep.
But that is just an absurd amount of damage. Nice play from Glory, applying a strong amount of pressure. And now you have to ask yourself, is Tom just a genius? Because Tom was playing weapon removal and the weapons did so much damage in this game.
I often ask myself, is Tom just a genius when I saw him keep Ultimate Infestation without ramp and win the World
correct.
Championship because of it.
But now, good job for Glory there, getting a quick first win. And to be honest, for BloodTrail, there's just not a lot he really could have done there.
Yeah.
If your opponent has that kind of damage from hand, that, like I said, the Ethereal Lack into Sinister Strike, I think, truly unlocked Glory's sort of vision for how he's going to win the game. So that was really, really good from Glory. 1-0 against Paladin, showing it can be done. Is he going to take the series 2-0? Find out after this.
What's up, Hearthstone fans, and welcome to the second episode of The Curve, where we draw the biggest headlines from this past weekend on Curve. I'm your host, Derek Brown. Let's do this. Flurry and Dawn continued their dominance in Asia Pacific, finishing with a perfect 4-0 match record. That brings Cloud9's overall record to 10-2, best among all teams with 2 or more members, despite teammate Kalento's 2 losses in the European region. The group will look to stay on top heading into Week 3. Psycho's impressive run to start the season continued in Grandmasters Europe, as he defeated both Yala and Swids to improve to a 4-0 record overall. Even better, he now sits at a perfect 8-0 game record. He'll look to keep his win streak alive next week as he takes on the world champion, Hunter Ace. Despite the nerfs to Rogue this past week, 2 Brave Americas players, Monsanto and Strifecrow, decided to bring the class anyway. Their risk paid off though, as both players went 2-0 this past weekend. Monsanto leads the entire Americas region with a dominant 4-0 match record, while Strifecrow sits in second place in the A division with a 3-1 record. With all of the Hearthstone Grandmasters being front and center, let's not forget to check in with our friends in China. This year, China is running 2 tournaments that will lead into playoffs and then the World Championship later this year. We'll keep you posted on the Gold Open and the Gold Team Championship. In this week's Meta Moment, we continue to highlight the Mage. After a warrior-infested Week 1, Mage came out to dominate Week 2. Of the 48 matches played across all regions, 42 of those matches contained a Mage. Outside of mirror matches, the Mage class only had a 50% win rate, and yet it's still the talk of the town as one of the best decks. We'll continue to see if the deck can sustain its popularity and find out if it truly is one of the most dominant classes in this meta. If you missed any of the Grandmasters action, you can check out the VODs on our YouTube page, youtube.com/Hearthstone Esports. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube as Grandmasters resumes this weekend. That's it for us. We'll see you in the tavern.
We're back with the last match of the day, BloodTrail versus Glory, and Glory just took a very convincing win there with the Rogue over the Paladin, but we can check out one of the changes because Glory, although sticking on his primary list, BloodTrail has moved over to his secondary one. So let's take a look at this and what are the advantage of this secondary list, G?
Yeah, the secondary is specifically for Rogue, which I think is a pretty smart thing to do from BloodTrail because a lot of the Shrivala Paladins have had one sideboard for Mage and one for Warrior, and while BloodTrail has the tertiary for Warrior, I think he realized even the primary of the Paladin is quite good against Mage anyway, so why not tech for a matchup which is not great, which is the Rogue. And so he has the double BloodTrail Corsairs in there, Youthful Brewmaster too, which I think is a really sick card, underrated. It allows you to play Shrivala on for tempo and then bounce it back into your hand rather than in your deck because you don't have to use Baleful Banker. Speaking of which, he's removed one because against Rogue you don't need the double bankers to deal 50 over 2 turns. Usually you can just play control and the banker is not great in that aspect.
Yeah, and High Priest Thakal for me is one, just a powerful minion in terms of allowing BloodTrail to heal for more effectively is it's the easiest way to explain it, I guess. More than you should be allowed to do and have a higher health total in general. But also, it's just a 3-mana 3/4, which trades favorably versus many of the rogue minions. And if played on curve, is something that Glory will really have to deal with. Glory can't just have this minion keep trading away, even if there's potentially a flash of light on Thakal. Instead of BloodTrail's own face, to keep the Thakal trading, it could be a big problem. And the removals, the One Hammer Wrath, the Quality Banker, as you explained, and Elven Archer, I think this is one of the better examples of having cards you can remove and don't hurt the deck too much, whilst adding a lot of extra power. So it feels like these swaps definitely up the power level a lot versus a couple of cards that I feel up it a little bit in a lot of other tertiary and secondary decks.
Yeah, and I think it's very telling of BloodTrail's philosophy in Specialists, because a lot of players, not a lot, but some players like to choose a sideboard which helps already a good matchup even further, which is siding for Mage. And BloodTrail decided, I'm going to try to make my primary as okay against Mage as possible without sacrificing too much. That's why he had the equality in the primary. And then by making that choice, he essentially gives himself one more slot of a deck to tech for this bad matchup of Rogue.
Yeah, well, we'll see how it plays out. The Crystology is already locked and loaded in the hand, and that is a big deal, as we said. BloodTrail added 2 Bloodsail Corsairs that do get drawn from Crystology, so his opening is looking significantly better than last game.
I keep looking at this and thinking, next week he could play this now. This
It's insane.
Crystology.
It's insane, though, isn't it? Like, it gives the Paladin an actual turn 1 play.
Actually gross. And a Glory with the deckhand on 1. This is actually such a nuts play against the Holy Wrath Paladin, because they're not going to be able to clear it nicely until the Consecration turn, and even then that's not great most of the time. Otherwise you'd require Pyro plus a spell, which is also not efficient. So deckhands in this matchup, when played on curve, tend to deal 6 damage and up.
Yeah, and also as well, like any of the sort of desperation plays that BloodTrail can make, get cleaned by the dagger, right? Anything early on just gets killed by a dagger up, very simply.
Glory now doesn't actually have a way to one-shot the Acolyte, which is always a pain. I wonder if you might just ignore it.
Yeah, I think you could ignore it pretty easily. You could even use the Witchy Lackey maybe to buff up the Miscreant. Or maybe even just play the SI on curve.
Yeah.
Is there that much of a punish for that?
Consecrate is the one I'm thinking of, but in that case, the Acolyte only draws 1 minion and you still have a Miscreant surviving. The SI on curve makes True Silver more awkward because now there are 2 things you would kind of want to hit with it.
I feel like being 1 minion ahead, kind of, for Glory is a good thing. And I don't know if the rest of his plays are just too slow and weak.
It's really tough to say. I think I'm in favor somewhat of playing SI because if you play a Lackey this turn, you're probably daggering, and then that means you're not getting full value off Waggle Pick. Oh, but one thing I forgot to note is that in this matchup, when you know they're playing Bloodsail Corsairs, you tend to keep the Waggle Pick at 2 charges. Instead of
so you
just
can actually to have more control over the death rattle effect.
Right. And you put them on having exactly both Corsairs to remove it, and if they use both to remove it, that means your other Waggle Pick is safe.
Right.
So Glory actually chose to clear the Acolyte there, and if you're not playing SI, I like that he does this way because now he preserves the deckhand on board, which has already been such an annoyance for BloodTrail, to the point where he has to Hammer of Wrath it. That's a True Silver going into deckhand last game, and a Hammer of Wrath going into it this game.
This is one nice way you can get around the Corsairs a little bit as well, is that you can use Deadly Poison on a normal dagger, and maybe not 1 charge dagger, of course, but a normal one, and that often is enough to drag out at least one of the Bloodsails, and that means that, again, the more that happens, the more your actual Waggle Picks are safe.
Another tough turn for Glory. I'm in favor of playing a minion. I just don't know if it's the Shark or the Life Drinker. The Shark doesn't get insane value because he's already used Miscreant, but I think it's good enough if it sticks to just go Life Drinker as the 6 damage and Witchy Lackey for double evolves. It
seems reasonable to me.
Yeah.
And it's, again, is it impossible that this gets cleared. I don't think it can get cleared because of the stealth, right? Like Shrink Ray doesn't actually kill anything. Consecrate isn't enough.
Yeah.
There's not enough mana for spell damage Consecrate, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So I think this Shark is extremely safe.
Yeah, you're right. This is the perfect mana window to play it in because once turn 6 rolls around, they can go Pyro Consecrate or Thalnos Consecrate. For BloodTrail here, the hand is super clunky. I think you may just Shrink Ray this just to set up some type of Pyro or Consecrate clear for next turn. The thing with Rogue is that there's not that many tall minions outside of Edwin that you need exclusively Shrink Ray to deal with. There is the possibility of Togwaggle getting legendaries. And I'm not saying it's a play that feels great, but I feel like going for the Novice Engineer here feels very awkward because now any minion he plays either wastes some value on it or overdraws you.
Yeah, I'm struggling to... I think I personally would lean towards Kangor because to remove it, you're asking either a couple of weird things from Glory, you know, backstab SIs, or trades. And trades, you know what? Yes, you don't get to Flash of Light with Kangor, but trades will get you a lot of healing anyway. He has chosen to go for the timeout, which is an also strange side effect of the Shark being on the board, because we can see that the setup felt like a Life Drinker setup. SIs don't get double, the weapon gets negated to a certain extent because there's only a 1-1 on the board, and so on and so on. So I'm not too upset with this timeout either.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clever after having seen what the draw from the Novice Engineer was. Now he sets up a board state where if Glory does go wider, he can just usually Pyro Consecrate can clear the majority of the Rogue minions, as you mentioned, which have this 3 health cutoff, like SI and Life Drinker. And yeah, he also denies the Life Drinker value immediately, so I actually think this is probably better than Shrink Ray.
We see as well both these players pretty much playing for a breakpoint within the division as well, as BloodTrail, if he wins, will go 3-3 and make Glory go 3-3. But if Glory gets the win, he'll go into 4-2 and put BloodTrail at 2-4. So kind of funny mirrored approaches to no matter how this match ends. But still, like, Glory's got the opportunity to pull away, whereas BloodTrail's got the opportunity to actually catch up to the top cut of the leaderboard.
Glory with the last turn, I was looking at cashing in on the Shark value with a Witchy Lackey, which probably creates 1 minion, which gets out of range of this type of 3 damage AoE. But instead he realizes that the Ziliax also plays around Pyro Consecrate and the Thalnos Consecrate because of the way the Consecrate procs and then the Pyro.
Right.
The Ziliax always survives in that case, so I think it was perfectly fine to Ziliax there. Glory now, because he didn't stick a Lackey, means the Tog has to wait for a bit, but I don't think it's the end of the world.
It's not. A little bit frustrating thing is I think the Witchy Lackey this turn could be really good, but there's no other Lackey to actually guarantee a King Togwaggle next turn, so that's just a little bit frustrating, but Glory can just whip in this dagger instead and just clear off the Thanos, so definitely not the end of the world, but having a 5-drop that's low stats and a 4-drop that's low stats and a 3-drop that's low stats that you could evolve would have been nice.
And BloodTrail is quite on a low health total already, and this board state makes it very awkward to clear without the help of a Shrink Ray.
And he's used a timeout, so you can't even just forget about this turn and deal with it later.
Yeah. I mean, this seems to merit a Pyro Shrink Ray already, even though there's not too many minions, simply because he's at such a low health total. He has this Kangor, but hasn't drawn Shrivala, hasn't drawn Flashes of Light.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Now when you start looking at Deadly Poison, Abyss, and SI,
and a Waggle Pick.
What did?
It's going for the top.
Okay. I was looking at Waggle Pick into SI. You push 6, and if it gets killed before the SI dies, you get a 1-mana SI to push more damage.
I could see that.
And if you don't, great, you swing for 4.
The problem is, I think with that turn, you give BloodTrail the ability to only remove your board and weapon for 1 mana, and then he can also fit in heal on the rest of the turn. Whereas this turn, you create this 5/5 minion, which is quite awkward for him to deal with because he already used a Shrink Ray. And then you threaten whatever the treasure is.
Yeah, so the value of front-loading damage that you can't even just remove versus getting some face damage in this turn, that's the difference. And Glory, I will say this 5/5 is a pain to deal with
Yeah.
the BloodTrail right now.
It is that stat line. Same with Unleash the Beast, which is Paladin just does not like to see that.
And these are the turns where you realize how much of an effect Equality nerf had on the deck, because Equality's been
GG.
removed from this. But can he not get there?
So he goes to 17, there's 6 on board, and he has 12 in hand. Am I miscounting something?
It doesn't look like
Oh,
it's...
yeah, not enough mana. Yeah.
Wait.
Wait. Yeah, he can't fit in
yeah,
the
he's
SI.
off. Yeah.
So again, good knowledge from the Paladin of the damage cutoffs from the Rogue.
One
is
changes
one-
a lot of things,
yeah,
though, Gia.
Yep.
Well, there's a 0 damage. He did use 3 mana to do it with.
Yes.
So now there's, what, 2 of this for 2 mana,
It's the
which
same,
is
right?
8, yeah.
But, man, BloodTrail does not have heal. He needs, I think, exactly Shrivala or Flash of Light into Flash of Light off the top. I don't know if just the one gets there because this Togwaggle is sticking. That's crazy. And Glory is just like...
So I think you do want to... it wouldn't really work. Okay. I'm just trying to work out what the best way is to settle the damage. Oh, and Evolve as well. Not so bad.
I am unsure if he wants to Shadow Step something this turn.
But also utilizing 1 mana for the weapon kill means that it's 1 mana less BloodTrail has to mess around with. So I think I like this overall. He does have SI7 well, he has X into SI7 agent, Shadow Step SI7 agent, Abyss. So it's 12 damage.
Yeah. It's honestly like, I think I would have leaned towards playing the SI there instead, because the 1 damage, 1 mana weapon removal is not just weapon removal, it's also removing the Tog from the board, which means BloodTrail doesn't have to expend the rest of the turn clearing board. But oh my gosh, he needed Shrivala. He can still get it off the Prismatic Lens, and I think it will for sure be free because of the Prismatic Lens interaction. And he could still fit in the Youthful on top of that, but he can't fit in Youthful and Kangor, which is a pretty big deal.
Does he even see it?
There's also the hand size issue, so yeah, he should start with this.
Does heal for an extra 2 as well with the swing of the weapon?
But what happens here is that since he removes the minion, so it's like exactly Flash of Light.
So he drew the Shrivala, which is playable,
No.
but can't play it because there's nothing to hit.
Yeah.
So now he has to go Kangor into the swing.
Okay.
Heals for 4 puts him to 9. But that looks like a lethal to me as Glory, the fist pumps, and the happy. He's going to be going 4-2 by the end of this weekend. And that is going to be game. And BloodTrail, I feel like it just displays the reason why Holy Wrath Paladin is not the be-all and end-all deck.
Oh, yeah.
Because your hand can cost so much, and the removal, most importantly, is so expensive that you're doing one thing a turn. We saw the Shrink Ray. It was just Shrink Ray pass because that's it, and then other things happened. So congratulations to Glory getting the win and showing that maybe this Rogue deck does look a little bit faster, but I do think it was down to just the overall build of the double Waggle Pig. Look at that deck hand in both games, get the job done. Even the Deadly Poisons as well, throwing a lot of damage, so very impressive from Glory.
I am still wondering about that last turn, if he maybe should have gone for the Prismatic before the BloodTrail Corsair, and you would have overdrawn 1 card there, but the card text on the Prismatic says draw a minion and then and a spell, and it happens in that order. So I don't think he would have overdrawn Shrivala in particular. Granted, he also had the out of drawing into a cheapened timeout if there were still a 2-cost minion left in the deck. I'm not exactly sure, but that was some tough turns for sure from the Paladin, and well played to Glory, and showing truly why this matchup, even when the Paladin is on secondary, is quite difficult because the Rogue just generates so much burst from hand.
Yeah, and then bear in mind, Glory played his primary deck twice, so that wasn't even overly teched, I would say. Let's check out the results for today, because that was match number 6, which means we are done for the weekend. Staz taking a victory over Flurry. Huge win, not only knocking Flurry down a peg or so, but also Staz needs these wins to start catching back up, as he is teetering on the bottom of Division A, or at least he was at the start of this weekend. And then Alu Timu continuing to prove how dominant he's been, at least in his division so far. 2-0 over Rivius' Hunter. And then we had the Hunter Mirror, Tyler and Shaxi. And Tyler, I believe, is, I'll probably get this wrong, but approximately 18-2 in Hunter Mirrors based on ladder and GM combined. Yep. He was like, yeah, I'm 18-2 or 20-2, something like that, which is kind of insane. So Tyler continuing to dominate with his Hunter there.
It's true, and for the second half of the day, Blitzchung versus Dawn, not an unexpected result that the Rogue gets the win over the Hunter, even though it is the slightly greedier version of Rogue. Blitzchung, that means he lost twice to Rogue this weekend, and so he's probably going to have to go back to the drawing board. But, well, everybody is going to do that because the buffs are going live very soon, guys. In match 5, Patra versus Samuel Tsao, I have to say, both players, I think, had a lot of good decisions throughout the entirety of the series, but Patra's draws did not line up. It was pretty sad to see the Zul'jin at the bottom in Game 2, and that means she is now on an 0-6 score, and Samuel Tsao gets his first win on the board. And finally, to close out the day, we saw BloodTrail versus Glory, which you guys saw. The Rogue just... I think South Sea Deckhand on Curve is the MVP in those matchups. Yeah,
it is really, really sick. But good games across the board I enjoyed today. I think some of the players really impressed me. I think Alutimu goes from week to week looking more and more impressive. But let's take a look at the standings and see, as these should be updated and we can see what's going on. Alutimu at the top with 5-1, and then there's Dawn and Shaxi at the top of Division B in a 5-1 score as well. But we start to see some separation as well from the players a little bit lower, but also some players closing the gap as well. Look at Frosty and Surrender this weekend.
Yes, they could very well creep up back in next week, but I also want to say that I think going into the meta next week, it's anybody's game in terms of like who can just find the read. But it is going to be really tough for players like Chonsu and Patra and Samuel Tsao to be able to catch up from this point, because you're essentially thinking that I only have this period now to start winning, and you just cannot afford to lose anymore.
Yeah, the more you lose, the more you feel every loss going forward as well, because it becomes progressively more important because you get further away from everyone else who is getting some wins. But as you mentioned, as we just looked at the divisions there are buffs coming, so we're going to have another meta again pretty soon. And in case you don't know, I'll give you a roundabout explanation. 2 cards from every class literally get buffed. There is no questions as to whether there's buffs or nerfs. Literally buffs. So it means that things are getting shaken up quite a lot.
Yeah, and those cards from each class are from the Boomsday Project expansion, because it is the Rise of the Mechs. But I do want to make a slight note that the buff to the Druid minion, Mulch Muncher, was it? The one that has Rush is an indirect nerf to Mage, because it goes from 10 to 9 mana, and you can no longer Conjurer's Calling your Sea Giant into the Rush minion.
Yeah, but Christology is sick and might be absolutely insane, so maybe we see more Paladin next weekend. But that is going to be us for this weekend over in the Asia Pacific Grandmasters, and stay tuned if you want to watch some more Hearthstone, because there's Europe coming right up, and straight after that, as always, there's the Americas. So thanks a lot for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next weekend.